no secret here on Stuff I Never Told You that I am a feminist. Y'all knew that, right? I get a lot of questions from people asking how to talk about feminism or call out sexist behavior in their daily lives. I've rounded up a few hopefully helpful tips on how to talk about the F word with friends and family. Tip number 1, understand your privilege. This word privilege has become about as controversial and provocative as the word feminism itself. All that it really means is identifying and understanding how personal attributes that you have influence certain advantages that you might enjoy as you move through the world. For instance, I am white, cisgender, heterosexual, and able-bodied. Depending on where I am and what's going on, society does bestow little bonuses based on those kinds of attributes. Understanding your own privilege is not meant to induce guilt for being who you are, rather to open your mind up to understanding how experiences for you are going to be different than the same experience and how it's processed for another person who might have different attributes from you. In other words, I think it's really important to understand what's going on inward before you start pointing fingers outward. Number 2, keep it simple. People like to misrepresent feminism as this list of rules and behaviors that you have to abide by. It just boils down to the social, political, and economic equality of all genders, period. Tip number 3, lead by example. Put another way, be the change that you want to see. If you can live as a feminist, make feminist choices, be accepting of people, keep intersectionality and privilege in mind, then that's what makes the impression on people. One celebrity example, Taylor Swift has explicitly said that Lena Dunham just being herself is what turned her on to feminism. Tip number 4, look for opportunities of agreement. In the same way that I think feminists should fearlessly call out directly sexist behavior, I think we should also fearlessly call out situations and behaviors that we completely agree with. Identify things that are totally feminist and promoting inclusivity and gender equality. It could be something as simple as, say, a clothing brand opting to use more diverse models in its advertisements, or say if you're in school learning about students who have stood up to sexist dress code standards. These kinds of easy conversation topics that are talking about feminism without directly talking about feminism. Tip number 5, don't be afraid of the stereotype. A lot of people who have asked me this question about how to talk about feminism with friends say that they're scared of being misidentified as some kind of angry, hairy, man-hating monster, which is a complete fabrication of what feminism is and what feminists are. One of the most effective things you can probably do to dismantle all of these negative stereotypes about feminism is to raise your hand and say, hey, I'm a feminist. If your friends are initially weirded out by that, it's okay, because they'll probably realize that you are still you. Some tweets to @MomStuffPodcast about this very question include Marcus Drewby, who says, stay calm. Many people have misconceptions about feminists. Don't get mad if they point out an obvious stereotype. Lil King Trashmouth said, always remember that it's not a product you need to sell someone on. It's a social movement. Queen DeVry tweeted, also don't worry about sounding like a stereotype. Really, if they're friends and can't see you aren't one, that's their problem. Lion Tamer Bones suggested asking questions like, ever notice that sexually active women are sluts and sexually active men are just men? And I look forward to seeing your tips in the comments below.